The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
With early detection comes early prevention.
Put lead in your pencil, make you feel like a champion.
Rise up again, let nothing keep you down. To live your best, hear the urologist speak. Oh yeah.
Think you're losing grip of your manhood, don't give up on hope.
Don't be ashamed, it's time to take control. Get some help from the urologist.
You will find
He'll help you solve your problems
on 96.9.
Yeah. I telling you, with early detection
Comes early prevention.
put lead in your pencil, make you feel like a champion.
Rise up again.
Let nothing keep you down. Live your best. Hear the urologist speak.
Take full control of
Good evening, Bahamas. This is Bahamian Urologist. This is Guardian Radio 96.9, and this is the Urologist Speaks. It's a pleasure to have you with me this evening. Today, as always, we're here offering hope, dispelling myths and inaccurate information regarding health, trying to dispel misconceptions, and we're really trying to stress preventative medicine and being more proactive in all forms of health, in terms of physical health, mental health, emotional health. So I have a very interesting topic today, and I think it's going to spark a lot of discussion, a lot of debate from both sides, and that is sparked by the recent declaration by the U.S. Surgeon General that happened less than 2 weeks ago on January 3rd, 2025, in which the U.S. Surgeon General actually declared that alcohol, even moderate consumption of alcohol, is found to be the third leading cause of preventable cancer deaths. In studies he found that in the United States alone, more than 100,000 cancer-related incidents were related to alcohol, and over 20,000 cancer-related deaths were directly linked to alcohol consumption, which is alarming. Furthermore, 1 in 6 breast cancer deaths in the United States were related directly to alcohol. So essentially, he said that alcohol is the third leading modifiable risk factor for cancer, behind tobacco and obesity. So when we talk about cancer, and our country is overwhelmed with cancer, whether it's breast cancer or colon cancer or prostate cancer, they're modifiable risk factors and they're the non-modifiable risk factors. Our genes are our genes. We can't change. If we have a breast cancer-related gene, we're going to have an increased risk, whether you're male or female, of getting breast cancer. We're going to have an increased risk of pancreatic cancer, skin cancer. If you're a man, you're going to have an exponentially increased risk of getting prostate cancer. We look at the familial history where we're inheriting certain genetic defects that are going to lead to us to have an increased risk of certain cancers. In our country alone, we have an overwhelming and alarming number of young women who are having an aggressive form of breast cancer, even in their early 30s. So what can we do to prevent these high risks and high rates of cancer? And alcohol is something that we don't talk about. Alcohol, there is, in fact, I'll speak about it at length, there really is no risk. There is no safe amount of alcohol that you consume. There's always going to be some amount of risk associated and with ill health effects related to the consumption of alcohol. And a lot of people are not going to like to hear that. But when you feel doom because in your family you have so many number of persons getting cancer, alcohol is a modifiable risk factor. You can limit your alcohol intake or even be completely abstinent and have no alcohol, and you can substantially reduce your risk of getting cancer. And even in the case of prostate cancer, you can reduce your risk of getting a more aggressive form of the prostate cancer. So it is an astonishing statement, and a lot of medical practitioners, even the American Cancer Society, has been saying that for many years. As many as 7 cancers have been found to be strongly linked to even low alcohol consumption, and that's even 2 drinks a day. So we need to look at ourselves. We need to question our relationship with alcohol and the relationship that our loved ones and our friends have with alcohol. Alcohol is constantly mentioned. I mean, it's in a capitalist society, everything is sponsored by alcohol. Alcohol is promoted in every way. And we need to question what is the effect on us and what is the effect on our society by consuming alcohol, particularly in high volume. So it's a normal thing. We want to relax on a weekend. You want to go out and celebrate. You want to watch sports. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to reach for a drink. But what are the ill health effects of consuming alcohol? I mean, I'm not going to lecture you. I just want to empower you with information, and you can make a decision as an intelligent individual what you want to do with your life. Maybe you want to just take a second look at how is alcohol impacting you? How is alcohol impacting your family, your relationship? Is it affecting your loved ones and your friends? How is it affecting you professionally, socially? Is it something that is consuming you? Is it something that is a crutch? Is it something that you use to self-medicate? Is it something that you use to try to relieve stress or to try to forget traumatic events in your life or to numb the pain, whatever way that may be? So alcohol can be very destructive in so many ways, and I'm going to talk about the different bodily systems and the way that alcohol can negatively impact. That includes the gastrointestinal system. That includes increased risk for a number of cancers. I mentioned at least 7 cancers are strongly linked to alcohol intake. And I'm going to talk about brain activity. I'm going to talk about increased risk of dementia. And not to mention the inhibition or the impulsiveness that alcohol has over us in terms of how many of us have known someone who's driven drunk and 2 o'clock in the morning lost their life or they're paraplegic because they were consuming too much alcohol and they were at a near fatal crash or a fatal crash, or they killed somebody, or they're before the courts or in jail because of manslaughter, vehicle manslaughter because of alcohol consumption. Or how many bad decisions have we made because of alcohol? Or how many relationships have been destroyed because of alcohol? Whether it's us becoming aggressive with our children or our spouse or our colleagues because of excess alcohol consumption, or bad decisions where we have unplanned pregnancies, or we get a sexually transmitted disease that's not curable, like HPV or we live with our entire life just because of one moment of bad decision where we may have consumed too much in the way of alcohol and our inhibitions were down and we were very impulsive, and we have to live with that bad decision our entire lives. And in many ways, if it's an unwanted pregnancy, that can change the trajectory of your life considerably. Maybe you don't end up going to college or university. Maybe it's more difficult to actually find someone to get married to because a lot of men just don't want to marry or date single mothers. So it can change your life in so many different ways, and you need to make sure that you're in control of your life and you're in control of your future. And you can't let alcohol impair that. So alcohol is basically a water-soluble molecule, and it's readily absorbed in your body. And through your stomach and through your small intestine, and when you drink it, it affects all the bodily systems, and including your brain. So alcohol affects your behavior, it affects your mood, it can lead to sleep disturbances, it can affect your hormonal balance. I mean, multiple long-term studies have shown that even low volumes of alcohol, we're talking about 2 drinks or less a week, is associated with a small reduction in mortality and death. But we really can't look at that because there's so many other studies that have shown that even small amounts of alcohol really have no beneficial effect for us in terms of our health. But any alcohol intake increases our risk of multiple. The fact is particularly important that in families, in our population such as the Bahamas, we have a very high rate of cancer. And reducing our alcohol consumption as a nation, as a populace, can considerably reduce our chance of getting cancer and reduce our cancer incidences. If the United States studies have shown that 1 in 6 breast cancer cases are related to alcohol consumption, we can extrapolate that to our society where we have similar diet, similar population demographics. If in the United States over 100,000 cancer cases are related to alcohol consumption and over 20,000 cancer mortalities, deaths are related to alcohol consumption, we can also extrapolate to that to our society, to our beautiful Bahamas, where if we can reduce our alcohol consumption as a nation, we'll be a healthier nation, we'll be making better decisions, we'll have a brighter future, we can maintain our brain activity without the ill effects on the brain itself, and we can actually reduce our cancer numbers. We can reduce our breast cancer incidences. We can reduce the incidences of more aggressive forms of prostate cancer and other cancers. So it's something to think about. You can call us at 323-6232 or 325-4316 or 326-4259, or you can call us toll-free from the Family Islands at 242-300-5720. So when we talk about alcohol and breast cancer, the link is not deniable. Long-term studies have shown that many cancers are influenced by hormones. Many cancers are hormonal sensitives, and it's found that alcohol can alter our hormones in our body. That's the same for prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is also very hormonal sensitive. So that is one of the links in terms of why do we get more cancer or increased cancer risk when we consume even low volumes of alcohol. So that is a motivation to try and lower your alcohol consumption or even stop it altogether, particularly if you are an individual that because of inherited risk, because of genetics, already have a stronger predisposition to developing numerous cancers, whether it's breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, etc. So cancers of the stomach, cancers of the breasts, esophagus, mouth, pharynx, larynx, prostate are all strongly linked along with breast cancer to alcohol consumption, even low levels of alcohol consumption. Colon cancer as well. So we look at other ill health effects of alcohol consumption, even in moderation. We can talk about liver failure. It's strong take. So when you consume alcohol, it leads to inflammation of the liver tissue itself, which leads to fat deposits as a result of the inflammation of the liver. And essentially you develop what we call medically a fatty liver as a consequence of alcohol consumption. Furthermore, that fatty liver can lead to scarring of the actual liver tissue, and that can lead to cirrhosis, which can inevitably lead to your death. And there are too many 30-year-olds, there are too many 40-year-olds who are sitting in hospital now because of liver cirrhosis or slowly dying because of excess alcohol consumption. So we need to look as a nation in the mirror and seeing where are we headed, what is alcohol doing to us in terms of cancer incidence, in terms of cancer risk, how is it destroying our society, the fabric of our society itself. We're a very violent nation. We're a very angry nation. We have the breakdown of the family in many levels, and alcohol is linked to many of those breakdowns in our society. So we need to regain our moral high ground. We need to regain our health. We need to regain our social status and stratosphere. And that starts with just limiting our alcohol intake. Even if I can encourage an individual to stop alcohol for a month, they can feel that vibrancy. They can feel that they're sleeping better. They can feel that energy, that rebound in their life. They can find that improve. Their intellectual ability improves. They're not going to be prone to depression as much. And all it takes is a trial. You can decide if it has made you healthier mentally, emotionally, or physically by just stopping alcohol for a month. So furthermore, even if you have severe liver damage before you reach the endpoint of cirrhosis, the liver itself is very regenerative. It can regenerate. Even if there's long-standing damage from alcohol, even if we were to remove 80% as a surgeon of the liver, you still be okay. The liver regenerates. But the more damage the liver has, and the more amount of cirrhosis, the less likely you're going to be able to rebound. And some of the liver failure is just going to be irreversible. But there is a point where there's a threshold that the liver meets where it just can't rebound. So let's stop going down that road. If you find that alcohol is a crutch for you, that you can't go through life or even a day without having alcohol, for many men in this country, 7-8 beers a day is their norm. They don't see anything wrong with it. It's become part of their socializing. They don't know any different, and they don't think there's any harm that they're doing. Many of them are young. They rebound. They don't have that hangover because they're young. But as they get older, you can think of the ill health effects of chronic alcohol consumption on them and how it's affecting their brain development, how it's affecting every bodily system. You can even think of the calories involved in alcohol. We're leading to obesity. We spoke about obesity and how we're the fourth most obese nation in the world per capita, which is alarming to be proud of. That's a shameful statistic. Alcohol has a very strong link between the obesity in our society, and we got to change that, and we can change that by putting down the ball and stop drinking to such excess. But even when we talk about the ill effects of alcohol, even I would talk about everything in moderation. I will, of course, will never speak about cigarettes, but even alcohol in moderation, many physicians would advocate that there's no harm. But many studies have shown, and now the U.S. Surgeon General has said, that even low levels of alcohol, even as little as 2 drinks a week, can have negative impact and exponentially increase your risk of as many as 7 different cancers. And we're already a cancer-ridden society. So let's look at this, let's read the research, and let's come to our own intellectual conclusion. I'm not here to lecture. I'm not here to be dogmatic. We're a democratic society. But we know as a society, we know somebody that alcohol has touched in a negative way. And we can make our own decision that, you know what, maybe the best thing to do is to drink sparingly or not at all, particularly if cancer is something that's a great concern in your family and you have a higher risk of developing cancer at some point in your life. So how does alcohol affect the kidneys? Let's go organ by organ. So what makes the kidneys less sensitive to a hormone that the kidneys naturally produce? And that's ADH, which is antidiuretic hormone. So we all know, whether we're 20 years old or we're 60 years old, if you drink a lot of alcohol, you're going to be peeing more frequently, you're going to be peeing more urgently, particularly for middle-aged men where they may already have an obstructive prostate. In many cases, it's benign prostate hyperplasia. They already have issues with emptying their bladder. If you compound that with the fact that you're drinking alcohol or you're consuming a large volume of caffeine, that's just going to exacerbate the issue, and they're going to be peeing every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes. You're not even going to be able to drink, enjoy the cocktails with your friends. Okay, we have a call coming in. You can go ahead. Good evening.
Dr. Pinto.
Yes, how are you doing, sir?
Good night. Just so you will stay encouraged, don't mind the calls you're coming up, because I'm listening and I'm learning and I'm understanding. The knowledge you are giving to us tonight is like, because I consider myself a social drinker. I believe studies always changes. At one point you will hear egg is good for cholesterol and egg is bad. Then you'll hear 2 glasses of wine for man, 1 glass for female, maybe red, maybe white. So the only concern I have is when you're saying knowing the culture, and it's like, let's say for someone who socially drinks, to stop cold turkey or to wind it down? Like, where we go with that?
Well, every individual can make their own decision. I mean, the U.S. Surgeon General has gone to the point where he wants to advocate and put before Congress where they have mandatory warnings on alcoholic beverages, whether it's a wine bottle, whether it's a can or bottle of beer, that actually says that it increases your risk of cancer. Be warned, this alcohol consumption increases your risk of numerous cancers, just as the warnings are put on cigarettes. So it is something serious. I'm just here to impart information. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to tell you to stop drinking. Obviously, those who drink to excess or use alcohol as a crutch or to numb or self-medicate because some other problems, obviously, you need to find another avenue to relieve your pain and your stresses. But I'm just here to answer cancer cases in this country. I'm just trying to provide, and if you look at it in a positive way, we can reduce our cancer risk. We can reduce the number of our women getting cancer. Let's reduce our alcohol intake. And that's a small price to pay. I've seen too many 30-year-olds, 35-year-olds dying of cancer when they had their whole life ahead of them, leaving children, leaving a husband to raise 3 kids on their own. And if 1 in 6 breast cancer cases are related to alcohol, then if we can reduce our alcohol intake as a nation and we can reduce and prevent 1 in 6 women getting breast cancer, that's wonderful news.
No, I really appreciate the knowledge now. I appreciate the knowledge, but
It's a hard swallow, and not a lot of people are going to like what I'm saying, and a lot of people I'm going to get a lot of people who are going to be detractors, but I'm just trying to say it in a positive way. That if you want to be a healthier you want to reduce your chance of dementia, you want to reduce your chance of 7 different cancers, if you want to reduce your chance of obesity, if you want to live longer, reduce your alcohol intake. Even alcohol in moderation is now found to have numerous negative health effects.
So let me ask a question then. Now, the calories, I assume, in alcohol I'm speaking of, comes from sugar.
Yes.
When we trace cancer, do we understand the difference? Is it sugar? Is this the alcohol in the beverage? Because
it's actually both. When it comes to alcohol, it's actually both.
Okay. Thank you for taking my call.
No, not a problem. Okay, thank you for that call. We have another call coming in. Good evening. This is Urologist Speaks with Dr. Gregory Pinto.
Hey, good afternoon, Dr. Pinto. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, the previous caller said about the encouragement of your continuation with the show. You're not a show where there's a lot of propaganda and reason to call in, but however, this seems like a college lecture, very, very informative, and I want you to know that you have a big fan base out there that listen.
Well, I'm very encouraged, and everywhere I go in NASA, I'm greeted warmly, and people thank me for the show. So it is encouraging, and I thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that the number of calls isn't a factor that determines whether this continue or not, because you have a great, I don't want to use the word fan base, but it's just that it is so informative that everyone is attentive and just listens. And there's no need to call in as to the other propaganda shows. So be encouraged with that.
No, I'm here, and I'm going to persevere, and I know I'm doing positive things with God's help, and I thank you for your support.
Yes, and to add to your part about the alcohol, I, for years, was diagnosed with gastritis or GERD, and I knew that I drank in moderation, and I knew that in the back of my head that was affecting it. Went to see the various gastroenterologists. They said, okay, just take the Nexium, and you could have a few drinks, X, Y, Z, which is, to your previous conversation, you said some physicians will say moderation, but we have to have the hard conversation. Moderation alone would not do it. And the challenge to it is that anyone that feels some sort of discomfort in their body and getting up in the morning and they don't have a medical issue assigned to it, just give up the alcohol for 3 days, a 3-day challenge, and you would see the difference, because alcohol affects us in ways that a physician wouldn't be able to tell, because there's so many small side effects that kicks from it that you can't go into a doctor's office and he or she diagnoses it. So just a 3 or 5 day challenge, and I'm sure everyone, even the one that just take the wine every now and again, will see the difference in their body or feel it. So I should be encouraged, Mr. Pinto, and thanks for everything.
I thank you for your call. So as you were saying, even moderate levels of alcohol can have harmful effects to the gastrointestinal tract, the natural microbiome. So that makes the intestine more porous, and you can have substances leaking into the blood that shouldn't be leaking into the blood, which can be very harmful. And these harmful substances can actually pass through across the blood-brain barrier and have disastrous effects. So we're going to talk more about this very controversial and interesting topic on the other end of the commercial. This is Urologist Speaks with Dr. Greggory Pinto.
Always on the go? Missed a show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
You try to rest, but roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers. For window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it. Just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Beulah gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge, so we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody go on. House price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Welcome back. This is Bahamian Urologist Dr. Greggory Pinto, and we're talking about moderate alcohol consumption, even low levels of alcohol consumption, and the negative impact on our health, including increasing the risk of as many as 7 different cancers. Studies have shown that 16.4% of breast cancers are related to alcohol consumption. And in a country that's overwhelmed with breast cancer incidents, I think that it is a very positive thing to try to reduce breast cancer incidents by lowering our alcohol intake. So obviously, I'm not here on a soapbox trying to advocate abstinence and never drinking alcohol. That's completely ridiculous. There's risks in everything. There's risk to your health in driving your car. There's risk in flying in an airplane. There's risk to your health in being in the sun. You can develop skin cancer. But you have to be smart about everything you do. You have to look at what are the consequences. Every individual is different. Some people have greater and inherent risks for certain health conditions than others. Some people are prone to obesity, so consuming large amounts or even moderate amounts of alcohol can worsen that problem. Some people have genetic predispositions to cancer. Alcohol consumption can also put them at greater risk. So you need to decide, is alcohol important to your life? How important is it, and how much you want to consume? We have a call coming in. Good evening. This is Urologist Speaks.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Pinto.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. You see, you have a lot of fan base now, but the thing is, the way you speak, so you speak very poised, and so I know you're sincere, right? And so last week, I didn't have anything in front of me, but I'd recently come across this anti-diuretic hormone, right?
Yes.
And so, given that I had BPH, and you know all about it,
Yes.
so I just wanted, I heard you juxtaposing it with BPH. So I was like, if I have an anti-diuretic hormone, why do I was urinating so much? So I like how you expounded on it to explain how they interact with one another. And then the people that called, and so, even I used to call Dr. Archer regularly.
Yes.
My dear, I love Dr. Archer. She's very, she's informative and she's sincere, just like you. So the question then becomes for me, as from then, I was kind of cocky because, I bragged there one day, I drink with a Guinness here and there. And so I delved into it, and then I found out that narrowing of the blood vessels, what they call the vasoconstriction. And then I listened to you talk about the other side effects, and I think they also said that it causes the blood to become more viscous, more thicker. And now I hear you talking about cancer and all these different things. So, I do it in moderation, and I've slowed down a lot. And so I found out that I get up less in the night anyhow. But I found out that, when I do drink, then I get up more. And it's with time I stopped drinking and all of that. So,
Yes, so alcohol suppresses the antidiuretic hormone and is going to make you produce more urine, and you're going to have more urgency, more frequency. That in any age, any female or male, you're gonna experience that.
Yeah, I had my last kidney test last year. Everything was okay. So I always am mindful that the kidneys actually try to achieve a homeostatic effect. You know what I mean? Like it is in constant battle for homeostasis, right? And so, then I realized, even consuming let's say salts and balance and all that, but as it relates to the young man was talking about studies, right?
Yes.
Right, studies changes, but some things still say the same metabolically. So even though people fund studies and they, to suit their means, and this is what, because there's a crisis of science, the crisis of fraud, the crisis of peer review, and the crisis of replication. These are things that are online. But what I'm afraid about is the level of ignorance, even in me, because I was at a client the other day out west, right, and I don't want to call the name, but and this is a person, it's a professional, and they was telling me something that happened years ago, and the people from the States had called them and said that they had inadvertently given them something to a blood transfusion. It wasn't HIV or anything, but I don't need to say what it is. But what I'm saying is, and then in talking with a husband who's very learned, he's very learned, he's from Europe, and I learned a lot. And I was upset because you're talking about it, I want you to expound on it, because I'm afraid that even if something like that was to happen, you paint a scenario, you get a blood transfusion, you contract something, they wouldn't contact you and tell you that, and then they're saying that she can do a lawsuit, et cetera, et cetera. And then I found out that there's a time frame or parameters in how long the hospital's supposed to keep the blood transfused, right? So that you can have reference to back your case. But in a place, in a third world country like ours, I know these implementations are not in existence. So what I'm saying is they are having a field day with us. And if I was in personal conversation with you, then I would have been able to say exactly what I have to say. But what I'm saying is you know personal things about me. So what I'm saying is I for some reason I just know that something happened.
Well, let me put your mind at ease.
They would always deny that, Dr. Pinto.
The blood bank in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas has very stringent international regulations in terms of testing.
That, Dr. Pinto, but if this could happen in the States, what I'm saying is they won't contact me. I'm saying, do they have a time limit as to when they keep blood for you to draw a reference back to, like 10 years, 5 years?
Very much so. There's always going to be a paper trail, but every whether it's hepatitis, whether it's HIV, whether it's syphilis, every blood product before it's transfused is stringently and diligently.
But Dr. Pinto, you're trying to tell me they don't make no mistakes? That's what you're trying to tell me?
In life, anything is possible.
That's
but I'm saying that in particular, there are always going to be one individual. It's going to be, let's say, 3 individuals who are going to check, double check, and quadruple check to make sure that we're not going to transmit anything to someone through a blood product.
But they won't do it willingly, of course. But what I'm saying is, in our realm of things here, so even in a place like ours, there is or there isn't any recourse as far as public hospital policy, because the government, it's counterintuitive for them to facilitate people having legal actions against them. So it's really like a rock between a hard place because, like I said years ago from Dr. Arches on the show, my father was like, and something you said is very crucial. It made me remember. You said putting a warning on alcoholic beverages. So it maybe the same should be done for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug that was prescribed to me by a doctor to my father, knowing that he's wearing a defibrillator and he had heart problems. So what I'm saying is, no one is prudent all the time. I mean, come on, man, Doc, give thanks. I'll finish hanging up and listen. I appreciate you very much, brother. Give thanks.
I mean, there's no perfect society, but I would say that we have a very professional blood bank. We have a very professional medical society. There are always checks and balances. And I can put we have every specialty, surgically, medically. We may not have all the resources, but in terms of latest advances, innovations, I can put our healthcare system on par with anywhere in the world. So let's talk more about this alcohol intake and all the negative health effects. How much alcohol intake is too much? So studies have shown and protocols have dictated that more than 10 ounces of hard alcohol a week or greater than 35 ounces of wine a week for women, or men or women more than 60 years of age or older is too much. Obviously, you can put it a little bit more for a younger male, but that basically is the threshold. So when we talk about increasing the alcohol consumption beyond that, that's increasing our cancer risk for the 7 cancers I mentioned. That's increasing our risk of obesity with increased calorie intake. That's going to increase our risk of dementia later in life, increase our risk of cirrhosis, increase our risk of gastrointestinal issues, whether it's even colon cancer or acid reflux or peptic ulcer disease or stomach cancer, cancer of the mouth, upper GI bleed, lower GI hemorrhage. So the list goes on. And we talk about pancreatitis, which basically can lead to your death. It's life-threatening. That goes hand in hand with even moderate and excess alcohol intake. So there's so many things that are associated with alcohol intake. Alcohol is a depressive. Alcohol is a neurotoxin, so it's going to be destructive to the brain itself. It's going to lead to depression. And it's going to lead to sleep disturbances. If you drink alcohol regularly, you're going to find that the night that you slept, you're not going to wake up as refreshed. You're not going to be as rested as the night that you didn't sleep. You didn't consume alcohol the night before. So these are not a lot of people. Alcohol is an important fabric of our society. As I said, it goes hand in hand with every celebration. It goes hand in hand with every social event. It's promoted at every sporting event. It goes hand in hand with watching NBA basketball on a Sunday or Super Bowl parties, etc. But we need to know that the ill health effects of alcohol on so many levels, physically, emotionally, psychologically, that leads to maybe possibly the destruction of the family itself. There are a lot of belligerent drunks, children who are afraid of their father, afraid of their mother because of what alcohol does to them, makes them a different person. And many times these persons who drink to excess don't even remember what they're doing. They become a different person that if they were to be video recorded during their tirades when they're drunk, they wouldn't even recognize themselves. And words that are said you can't undo. Violence that you inflict on your loved ones, you can never take back. Even if you did it when your inhibitions were down or you were impulsive because you drank too much in the way of alcohol, it was your choice to drink too much in the way of alcohol. So all the consequences of that, you have to be responsible for. So if you want to be a responsible parent, if you want to be a good spouse, if you want to be a good member of society, let's not obviously drink and drive. I would say not even any amount. You shouldn't be debating, okay, I had 4 beers. Any chances, because the consequences can be astronomical. I'm always going to advocate, have a designated driver. If you're going to go out as a group, 1 week, one person doesn't drink, the next week another person doesn't drink, so the other persons who are drinking can enjoy themselves without endangering the members of our society or endangering the occupants of the car itself. So the ugly truth is, what does alcohol do to the brain? I mean, even a little bit of alcohol can damage the brain itself. So just in layman's terms, we look at alcohol, it disrupts the white matter of the brain itself. In the brain, there's gray matter, which we can look at the nerve and the cell bodies, and we can look at white matter, which is basically the nerve cell tracts. So white matter are basically the highways of the brain that transmit information and impulses. So even a little bit of alcohol has been shown to disrupt the white matter of your brain. So many people are sitting there on the fence with alcohol. They're trying to decide if, by definition, are they alcohol, or are they reliant on alcohol to get through life? And even for social drinkers, is it easy for them to stop drinking? Even in the social circumstances where there's the stresses of peers, you're the weird one. If you don't drink, your peers are going to try to get you to drink. So it's not always easy. So basically, you don't want to hang out with people. If you want to stop drinking, you're not going to hang out with people to drink to excess. If you want to have a positive life, you want to hang out with positive people. So sometimes you got to drop friends. Sometimes you got to drop colleagues who are having negative impacts on your life, or you don't want anything better for yourself, even when you want better for yourself. So never underestimate negative influences in your life. Sometimes you got to drop the dead weight. Sometimes you got to drop the negative influences, and maybe you want to help them as well. If you see there's a problem in your life with alcohol, maybe you see the same problem in those you hang out with, because all of you drink to excess. So maybe all of you can seek help and be a support group to stop drinking alcohol to excess and prevent you from having cancers or dementia or cirrhosis or any number of other ill health effects. So, I mean, our society is basically constructed in such a way that on a Friday evening, when the waiter comes in, the first thing they're going to do is, what do you want to drink? Or they're going to provide you the wine menu. Or the first thing you're going to do is start with 2 drinks. That may add up to 3 drinks. By the end of the night, it's 7 drinks. Then you're debating, all right, I drove here. What am I going to do with my car? I think I'm okay. I'm going to sober up. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. And then you're essentially driving drunk, which is putting yourself at risk, putting your whole life at risk, potentially changing the trajectory of your life, your children's life, the life of your spouse, the life of the ones who love you. It's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. You're not going to remember all the alcohol you had a year ago at a party that led you to have unwanted pregnancy. You're not going to remember the alcohol you drank and enjoyed having a year ago that led you to have a car accident, and for the rest of your life you're having back issues. Or you're not going to remember the alcohol you drank a year ago that led you to strike your spouse or your girlfriend and lose that relationship. So alcohol can be destructive, and in a moment it can change your life forever. So always make smart choices, and when you have alcohol, which lowers your inhibitions and can make you just be inherently impulsive, sometimes it's difficult to make intelligent decisions. So we'll talk a little bit more of this interesting talk on the other end of the break. This is Urologist Speaks with Dr. Greggory Pinto.
The new Guardian Radio app is here. Listen live to all our Guardian Radio shows and live video stream select programs in our studio. Get information about Guardian Radio shows and our hosts. Send messages, including text, email, and even call. All from our amazing new Guardian Radio app. Download it free today in your App Store for your Apple device or Play Store for your Android device. The all-new and improved Guardian Radio app.
Tired of banks forcing you to use too? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Loss of family members is very isolating, and people who have experienced loss appreciate when others have shared their grief. If you can't be there in person, go to the Nassau Guardian's website online at thenassauguardian.com. and visit our obituary link. The Nassau Guardian's interactive obituary link allows you to read the funeral announcement, express condolences, or place photos on the online guest book for 1 full year. Losing a loved one is painful, but that pain isn't the worst thing to happen. Friends, loved ones, colleagues, and neighbors who ignore the loss compound the pain. Should the bereaved family wish to place the obituary and photos on our obituary site, just contact the Guardian's funeral industry partners or the Nassau Guardian. Remember, there isn't one magic right thing to say to someone experiencing loss that will make the loss less painful or easier to bear. The Nassau Guardian's obituary link, available online at thenassauguardian.com. This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Welcome back. This is Bahamian Urologist Dr. Greggory Pinto. We're talking about moderate alcohol consumption and the negative health impacts of consuming even moderate amounts of alcohol. This was prompted by, less than 2 weeks ago, the U.S. Surgeon General bringing out a statement that as many as 100,000 cancer cases in the United States are directly related to alcohol consumption. Over 20,000 cancer-related deaths are directly related to alcohol consumption. That 1 in 6 breast cancer cases in the United States are related directly to alcohol consumption. And it's reached a point where the U.S. Surgeon General is advocating that there's going to be a mandatory warning on all alcohol beverages, wine, rum, beer, etc., just in the way they have warnings on cigarette boxes that warns that consuming these alcohol products is going to increase your risk of cancer. And that's something mind-boggling. So it's difficult to stop drinking. It's difficult because of all the social interactions involved with drinking. But if you want to be a healthier you need to have a strong backbone. So even the American Cancer Society has stated that alcohol intake can increase the risk of 7 different cancers, and that's alarming. Overwhelmed with too much alcohol consumption in a country that's overwhelmed with numerous cancers, that's a modifiable risk factor that we can change for ourselves. We as a nation can reduce our number of breast cancer cases. We can reduce our number of colon cancer cases. We can reduce the number of aggressive prostate cancer cases by limiting our alcohol consumption, particularly for those who have an inherent risk for any numerable cancers. So I'm going to talk about a very interesting fact. When you go to a restaurant, the first thing, any restaurant throughout the world, the Bahamas and anywhere else, you're going to be provided free bread. And why are you given free bread? The next thing the waiter is going to come around, if you're an adult, is they're going to give you a wine menu or they're going to give you an alcohol menu and ask you, what do you want to start the night off by drinking? So they want you to start your meal off with some bread. They want you to start your meal off with some drinks. And there's a reason behind that. There's an actual reason behind that. Both alcohol and bread drop your brain frontal lobe inhibitions. Both of them make it more likely that you're going to order more food and spend more money in their restaurant. So the bread is free, but in the end, it pays off because you're going to have less inhibitions, you're going to be more impulsive, and you're going to spend more money. An investment on their part, as bread gives you an immediate sugar rise, an immediate sugar spike, which then pushes the serotonin in your brain and makes you happy and less inhibited. The serotonin also drops your frontal lobe brain function, which will make you a little more impulsive, more likely to spend more likely to consume more or order more food. Then the alcohol further drops your frontal lobe inhibitions and make you even more impulsive and even more likely to drop cash in their restaurant. So there's a method to their madness. First the bread comes out and then the alcohol. So you have to look at what is the science behind that? So alcohol inhibits your inhibitions. It makes you more impulsive, and it can make you have dangerous behaviors. So you just have to be mindful of that. So the World Health Organization actually says there is no safe amount of alcohol consumption. So as the alcohol breaks down in the body, it can damage your DNA and proteins. And it can also allow there to be development of numerous cancers because of that. It also can alter our hormonal levels, and it can make it easier for the body to absorb carcinogens such as tobacco, which then will lead to so alcohol has a long list of negative impacts on our bodies, physically, emotionally, and even spiritually. So I'm going to read some of the texts, and thank you for sending in the text. Dr. Pinto, the breaching of the blood-brain barrier by alcohol is a proven fact. And obviously the negative impact of drinking alcohol, even in small volumes, can have a negative impact on your brain over time. So there have been studies that looked at the MRI of the brain for those who drink alcohol to excess, for those who drink alcohol in moderation, and those who drink alcohol sparingly. And you can see the vast difference in terms of the amount of white matter, in terms of the deterioration of the brain itself. You can even, in terms of studies looking at the cognitive ability of, let's say, a 60-year-old who never drank versus someone who drinks excessively, or even someone who drinks regularly or socially. If you want to have your faculties, you want to reduce your chance of dementia, you want to live a fuller life, lower your alcohol intake. There are other ways to enjoy your life. There are those who are going to say in the counter that alcohol relaxes them. Alcohol is a stress reliever. There are other ways to relieve your stress. I mean, you can meditate. You can participate in sports. You can exercise. You can participate in yoga. There are other positive ways to relieve your stress. If you have a traumatic event in your life, whether it's from childhood or a previous marriage or a previous relationship, drinking or to deal with your emotions is the wrong and absolutely wrong thing to do, because all you're doing is compounding the problem and creating a new issue for yourself, and you're not addressing the root cause of your pain. We have numerous psychologists in our society. We have numerous well-qualified psychiatrists. We have numerous groups, Alcoholics Anonymous. We have numerous groups available for those who want to get off drugs. So don't do it alone. And there's no harm in seeking help. The greatest tragedy is to continue to suffer and to continue to do self-harm and to go worse and worse into a hole that you're never going to get out of it. And you're going to do irreversible damage to your body that you're going to pay for later in life, or even pay in the immediate future. 30-year-olds die of cirrhosis. 35-year-olds die of pancreatitis. There are 38-year-old women who have breast cancer related to alcohol intake. There are 45-year-old men who have colon cancer related to alcohol intake. There are 55-year-old men who have aggressive form of prostate cancer related to their alcohol intake. And this is all supported by long-term, double-blinded studies done throughout the world with numerous demographics and numerous races that are a part of these studies. There's some studies that go back into the 1990s, going all the way up until 2020, that has shown the negative impact of even low volumes of alcohol ability on your increased risk of dementia, your increased risk of Alzheimer's. And once you develop dementia, that's the beginning of the end. It can destroy you within. You don't remember your grandchildren. You don't remember your spouse. And it's painful for everyone who's dealing with you, because imagine someone who has dementia related to alcohol consumption, and they don't remember that their spouse died. So every single morning they wake up looking for their wife. They look up looking for their husband, and they had to be told by their daughter or told by their grandson that their spouse passed away, and they live that pain and that anguish every single day, and then the new day starts and they forgot again, and then they have to live that through that again. Or the pain of a daughter coming home and their mother doesn't recognize them, or they're screaming because they don't know who this stranger is, or they have no memory of a happy family events. Preserve your brain, preserve your happiness. Let's have not just longevity in our life, but good quality life on this earth. And we can do that by limiting our alcohol intake. And as I discussed last week, we can do that by limiting body mass index. Being overweight, being obese, that also has a multitude of negative health impacts in our life that we're going to pay with, even in terms of cancer. So being obese as a postmenopausal woman increases your risk quite substantially of getting breast cancer. That's why we always advocate, if you're retired, if you're postmenopausal, please don't have a sedentary lifestyle. Please watch your diet. Please get exercise. Please exercise your mind, because if you put on that weight, that's going to increase your risk, and just in a hormonal level, that's going to increase your risk of developing breast cancer. That's going to increase your risk of developing ovarian cancer. So when we talk about cancer, we always talk about modifiable risk factors. What can we do to lower, as a society, as a nation, what can we do to lower our risk of developing any number of cancers? And we all know someone who is either fighting cancer, overcome cancer, or has died of cancer. It's prevalent in our society. Can you imagine that if we could have reduced, as a society, our obesity level, if we could have reduced our alcohol consumption as a nation, how many families would have their grandmother with them now? Or how many children would have their father still in their life? Or how many persons didn't have to go through the anguish of radiation, chemotherapy, surgery, and actively surveilling for the possibility of cancer recurrence, all because of alcohol causing their numerous cancers. So we can't change our genes, but we can by healthy living, by healthy choice intake, by making sure that we have a normal body mass index, that we're not overweight, that we're not obese, that we don't consume large quantities of processed foods, that we don't consume large amounts of red meat, fast food, carbohydrates. We can live longer, we can live better, and we can live healthier. I'm going to read another text. This is a question in the form of a text. A male urinating 3 times a night, is that a problem? ? Yes, it is. So nighttime urination, where you physically wake up out of your sleep to urinate, is called nocturia. Nocturia of 2 or more times a night is a concern, because it's going to be disruptive to your sleep. It's going to be disruptive to the spouse that you automatically almost always wakes up because you have to go and urinate, or vice versa. Many men and women, they wake up to pee. It takes them 45 minutes to fall back asleep. And then an hour and a half later, they got to wake up again and urinate again. So you have a very disrupted sleep. You're not going to get that deep sleep. You're not going to get that restorative sleep. You're not going to get that rapid eye movement REM sleep. So you're going to wake up like a zombie. You're going to drink more coffee, which is a diuretic, and it's going to make you to pee more and more throughout the day. So there are many reasons that you're urinating frequently at night, particularly as you get older. Men and women, there's a natural hormone, and that's called vasopressin. It essentially is what God allows us to produce more urine during the day when we're awake than at night. So we can have a good 7 hours of sleep, which is imperative for all our bodily functions, our cognitive ability, and for our cardiac health as well. So as we get older, that hormone, desmopressin, is less and less supply. So we're more likely to be peeing more frequently in the night because we're producing larger volumes of urine. And in many cases, we can actually provide you a synthetic analog of vasopressin called desmopressin, where it'll prevent you from peeing so frequently at night. Or that's what we usually is a go-to management for kids who wet the bed, where if we can give them that, what's called DDVAP, desmopressin, it actually can stop them from wetting the bed. And that's another crisis that I've mentioned many times. If you're over 6 years old, as a parent, don't let your child wet the bed. It's socially destructive. It can change their whole entire personality. It can make them feel socially awkward. It can make them feel depressed. You're not getting that good night's sleep because you got to wake up throughout the night to change the pajamas, to change the covers, to change the even some. Studies have shown that it's the third most stressful event that any family can face. And you can just listen to any mother, any father, any grandmother who has a child who wets the bed and soaks the bed every single night. And you can imagine the negative impact that's having on that child. So there are many reasons that you may, as a child, be wetting the bed, but please seek the consult of a urologist so that we can stop you wetting the bed, let you get a good night's sleep. So if you're waking up more than twice in the night to urinate, please seek help. So in conclusion, alcohol, even in low levels, can increase our risk of cancer. We are a cancer-ridden society. We're an obese nation. Alcohol leads to increased risk of obesity. Please make wise decisions. This is Urologist Speaks. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week with a very interesting topic again. Good night.